Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and with it being the beginning of the month it is time for yet another Patreon request. Again, this one comes from Bladed Thesis, who has asked me to look at a band called Citizen Soldier. Never heard of them before. So of course, as is my usual, I had to try and find some information about them. And just the first line of this sounds interesting. Citizen Soldier is a rock band from Salt Lake City, Utah, and were formed in a psychiatric hospital in 2016 when the frontman Jake Segura wrote the lyrics for Let It Burn. They released their first single in 2017. Since their formation in 2016, the band discusses mental health issues through their music. They have stated that their mission is to fight the stigma and provide a group therapy dynamic. The band's name, Citizen Soldier, is the band's attempt to personify the struggles being fought within, and the band's goal to shine a light on the everyday struggles of those who feel overlooked and unappreciated. In 2017, after a few singles, the band initially released just one EP before releasing their first album, Relentless, in 2019. The album, Down the Rabbit Hole, was released in 2020, followed by the two-part album, This Is Your Sign Part 1 in 2021, and This Is Your Sign Part 2 in 2022. In May of 2022, Citizen Soldier announced their fifth album, Scarecrow, with another 18 songs. The complete album was released on December 14th. The band typically releases the songs of new albums as singles first before being released collectively as an album. In 2023, they accompanied the band Smash Into Pieces on their tour through North America and Canada. Together they recorded an acoustic version of the song 6 Feet Under from Smash Into Pieces. In the same year, in November, they released a new album called I See You. And in November of 2024, they released an album called Icarus. So there you go. That's pretty much all the information I could find on them. Now, they're described as alternative rock, post-grunge alternative metal. So that can cover a great many different things. So not entirely sure what the sound of the band is going to be. But we'll find out. So I've been asked to look at a song called, I can't remember what it's called, Burden. A song called Burden. So, no idea what to expect from this, but I've got the lyrics here, as I normally do. And, well, I mean, they say they talk about, like, mental health issues and people who are struggling and this, that and the other. So, that's right in my wheelhouse. So, yeah, we'll see what we've got. But before we do that, if you can just take a moment to like and subscribe if you haven't already, it would really, really mean a lot to me. You know, I've been doing this for probably about 7 years now, I think it is. And not even 3% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, which is a little disheartening considering, you know, the amount of time I've been doing it and the amount of time and effort I put into it, you know, and I like to think I do something slightly different to most other React channels, but, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, if you could like and subscribe, you know, it doesn't cost you anything, it takes a fraction of a second, and it does make the biggest difference to me and the channel. But anyway, with that being said, let's just dive into this and see what we have. So, Burden by Citizen Soldier. Let's have a look.
I think you say sorry too much. I think you got issues with trust from the voices in your head that say that you're too hard to love. I think you still live with the ghosts of people you needed the most, that let you down and taught you how to keep your closet door closed. But I've been there and I would rather die than watch you drown in tears that you need to cry. You can talk to me. I can tell that you're not okay. You can spill your guts, I won't leave. You are not a burden to me. You can talk to me. Even down in your darkest place, you can let your skeleton scream. You are not a burden to me. You are not a burden to me. someone's got it worse. Been minimized so many times that you believe it's deserved. I think you've been silent since youth, 'cause every time you speak your truth, you're stigmatized, re-traumatized by all the things you didn't choose. I don't mind your darker side, you can lose control. I'd rather hear your hell than see your funeral. You can talk to me. I can tell that you're not okay. You can spill your guts, I won't leave. You are not a burden to me. You can talk to me. Even down in your darkest place, you can let your skeleton scream. You are not a burden to me. The monsters that you're holding back, there's no need to dress them up. Your ugly truth, give depth to you. Now there's so much more to love. You can talk to me. I can tell that you're not okay. You can spill your guts, I won't leave. You are not a burden to me. You can talk to me. Even down in your darkest place, don't ever be ashamed of your needs. You are not a burden to me. You are not a burden. You are not a burden. You are not a burden to me. You are not a burden. Monsters that you're holding back, there's no need to dress them up. Your ugly truth, give depth to you. Now there's so much more to love.
Yes, well, a very powerful, power ballad, I think you could call it. Very direct, very straight to the point, you know, there's no messing around, there's no, like, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but, you know, they're literally just straight to the point and saying exactly what they need to say, you know, and they make some excellent points and some excellent observations in this piece of music. It's, you know, it's quite a powerful musical performance. You know, his vocal performance is quite powerful. You can hear hints of a slightly heavier side to their music. I'm guessing this is probably one of their more, I want to say, lighter songs. I mean, it still had some quite heavy tones in it, you know, musically and, you know, vocally. But I'm guessing this is more on the lighter side of music, so I'm curious as to what their heavier stuff might be. If there is heavier stuff, I could be completely wrong. All of their stuff could be like this, I don't know. But you can hear hints of it in the vocal performance specifically. You know, you can tell there is a stronger, harder and heavier sort of side there. But it wasn't used so much in this because this song speaks of such important, powerful topics, but it's done in a very sort of empathetic and heartfelt way, and it's something I can really relate to, because with the song being called Burden, they're basically talking about people who are struggling with maybe depression or mental health issues. So often people try and minimize it, and he even mentions it in here, it gets minimized. And there's a line somewhere saying, you know, that you always think there are people worse off than you. And this is one of the things you hear so often, is people saying, well, don't be sad. Cheer up. There are people out there worse off than you. If it was that easy to not be sad and to cheer up, don't you think people would do that? And there might be people in the world worse off than that person. That might be the case. But in that moment, that person is coming to you for help. They are struggling. They are suffering. So basically turning to them and saying, there are people in the world worse off than you, is being very dismissive. And it's not helping them at all. You know, because now they're thinking, you know, whilst I am suffering, whilst I am struggling, it's not important. But it is. It's very important that you help people when they are struggling. They might be, you know, there might be people worse off than them, but that person in that moment needs your help. And the last thing that you want, oh, it's not the last thing, but one of the things you do not want on your conscience is if that person is struggling and you just dismiss them by saying there's other people worse off than you, they'll go, right, okay, I won't bother talking about it then, I'm not even going to try. And then they go off and they might do something drastic. They might do something foolish and end up taking their own life. And then that will forever be etched on your mind as, I could have done something, I could have made a difference. If I had sat there and talked to that person, this might not have happened. And that's not something you want to live with, because believe me, I live with that as well. I've mentioned this before, that I had a very, very good friend called Stephen several years ago. I mean, we're talking about 27 years ago now, I think. I was about 18 or 19 at the time, so it's a while back. I had a friend called Stephen, and he took his own life. And the thing is, the day that he did it, I actually bumped into him in town. And I was on my way to work. I was late to work. And I bumped into him. I could see there was something wrong. I asked him if he was okay. He said, yeah, I'm fine. I knew he wasn't. But I was late to work. And I said, look, I'll talk to you later, mate. I've got to get to work. I'm running late. And of course, later that day, he took his own life. If I had taken just a few minutes, a few moments to talk to him, to try and help him, you know, I was already late to work as it was. What was a few more minutes? If I had taken a few more minutes to talk to him, to help him, to try and, you know, to get him to let off some steam, tell me what was frustrating him, would that have made a difference? It might have done, it might not have, I don't know. But that's the thing, I will never know if I could have made the difference to him, because I foolishly didn't take the time to make sure that he was okay. I mean, I didn't dismiss him. I asked him if he was okay. I knew something was wrong. But because I was late for work and I was in a mad rush, and because of the way that businesses are, it's like if you're late to work, you get into a shitload of trouble. You know, I didn't take the time for my friend, and his life is more important than a fucking job. You know, and that is something that is forever going to haunt me. You know, like I said, this happened 17, 18 years ago. Almost to the day. In fact, 3 days ago was the anniversary of his death. And that always hits me very hard, because there will forever be that thing on my mind saying, could I have made a difference? Would he still be alive if I had taken the time to talk to him? It's not something you want. And it's heartbreaking and it's painful. And it's a very difficult thing to live with, but I've got to live with it every day, knowing that I could have possibly made a difference if I'd just taken a few minutes to talk to him. So if someone approaches you and says, you know, I'm feeling bad, or I'm struggling, or if you can see someone struggling, even if they won't openly admit to you, talk to them. It is vital, because you could end up losing someone. I have lost several friends to suicide. And, you know, there are some people who have already made up their mind, and no matter how hard you try, you won't make a difference. But you've at least got to try. Anyway, let's get into the actual song itself. But, you know, bear that sort of thing in mind. Because the song goes, I think you say sorry too much. I think you've got issues with trust. From the voices in your head that say that you're too hard to love. I think you still live with the ghosts of the people you needed most that let you down and taught you how to keep your closet door closed. That first verse says everything. You know, I think you say sorry too much. You know, because there are, you know, when you struggle with depression. You know, I've mentioned many times I struggle with quite severe depression. I have mental health problems. And I mean, even the title of the song says everything, burden. You know, you say sorry too much because you might be in a bit of a down state, you might be in a dark place, you might be sad, you might be depressed. Excuse me. And you might say something to someone saying like, you know, I'm not in a very good place right now. And I've had this many, many times. You say to someone, you know, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling a bit blah, you know. And they go, come on, dude, you know, this is depressing. I don't want to hear this. And you're like, I'm sorry. You're apologising because you feel bad. How does that work? You shouldn't have to apologise for the fact that you are struggling. Okay? You shouldn't have to apologise to them that you're feeling bad. And you're saying sorry too much. You don't need to apologise for the way that you feel. You are allowed to feel the way you feel. It's okay to not be okay. Now, I think you've got issues with trust. Again, you know, this goes back to like sometimes you have that voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, or the fact that you have the voice in your head saying don't tell anybody, they don't care. You know, there's that little nagging voice in the back of your head saying no one cares about you, no one cares that you're struggling, you know, the reason you're feeling like shit is because you're worthless, this sort of thing. You know, you've got problems with trust. You know, maybe there have been people in the past who have let you down, or people who have hurt you, you know, and I've mentioned again before that I've had this multiple times. You know, I've lost many, many friends but simply because they were not prepared to deal with the fact that I had problems. You know, people who I thought were really, really close to me ended up turning their back on me when I needed them. You know, when I sought them out and asked for help. You know, it even says here, the voices in your head that say you're too hard to love, because, you know, you do think that, you know. So many people sort of drill it into your head that you having depression makes it so difficult for them to actually care for you because they're not prepared to deal with it. It's not you're difficult to care for, it's they're not prepared to deal with it. I think you still live with the ghosts of the people you needed most that let you down and taught you how to keep your closet door closed. So people who let you down, so like you've gone to someone and said, look, I'm really struggling, I really need your help, and they've turned around and gone, look, dude, it's not my problem, or I don't want to talk about this right now, you know, and they taught you to keep your closet closed. So basically keeping everything pent up inside you, you know, don't tell anybody about it because nobody wants to hear it. And that's what you've been made to believe because of the amount of people that have turned around to you and said, I'm not interested. You know, it's like, I've had this a couple of times, and I know other people have as well. You know, someone will message someone on Facebook and they'll be like, oh, dude, how you doing? How you going? You might go, oh, I'm feeling, well, you know, I'm struggling a little bit at the moment. And they'll either completely ghost you, you know, just be like, no, don't want to talk to you, bye. Or, you know, they've just turned around and gone and said something like, well, cheer up, or don't be sad, and there's people worse off than you, and, you know, all this bullshit. You know, they've let you down. They're not helping you, and they're just like, I don't want to deal with this shit. They don't want to, when they say, how are you doing? They want to hear, yeah, I'm fine. They don't want to hear how you actually are. They just want to hear, I'm good, thanks. And that's it. I've mentioned this on a couple of videos again in the past. Then goes, but I've been there, and I would rather die than watch you drown in the tears that you need to cry. So it's like, I would rather struggle. I would rather struggle with you. I would rather cry. I would rather die than leave you here suffering. I don't want to watch you drowning in your own tears. I want to help you. And then comes the chorus. You can talk to me. I can tell that you're not okay. You can spill your guts. I won't leave. You are not a burden to me. You can talk to me. Even down in your darkest place, you can let your skeleton scream. You are not a burden to me. And I love this. You know, and I've said this to many, many people. You know, I've always said I've even said it to people I don't even know that well. If you need someone to talk to me. I will sit with you. I will listen. No matter what it is you need to talk about, you can shout, you can scream, you can rant, you can vent, whatever it is you need. I will sit with you and I will listen to you and I will not judge you. I'll probably empathise with you. You know, it's like, you can spill your guts, I will not leave. And, you know, I've done this many, many times. I have sat up until ungodly hours of the morning on the phone with people because they're struggling. And I will talk to them for however long it takes to make sure that they are okay. You know, and I've had people that I've been sitting on the phone with, you know, I've been talking to people on the phone and the line's cut off, you know. And I have tried my damnedest to find a way to make sure that they're okay. You know, if they're not answering their phone, if they're not answering messages on like Facebook or whatever other social media there is, I will find someone close to them and speak to them and say, look, I was just speaking to so-and-so, they're struggling, the line cut off, can you find out if they're okay for me? You know, I will find a way to make sure that that person is okay. I'm not just going to sit there and go, well, that's it, that's me done for the night. I won't do that. If someone needs me, if someone is struggling, I will sit there for however long it takes and listen to them. Because I know what it's like to be in that place. And, you know, I was in that place and I had no one. You know, and I mean, I have been to some very, very dark places and I have contemplated some very, very dark things at times. And I had no one to turn to. I had no one to talk to. So I know what that feels like. I know how painful it is. And I refuse to let anyone, even if I don't know them, I refuse to let anyone feel that same way. If I can help them in any way. Anyway, we carry on. I think that you never get heard by thinking someone got it worse. Been minimised so many times that you believe it's deserved. I think you've been silent since youth, because every time you speak your truth, you're stigmatised, re-traumatised by the things you didn't choose. I mean, the way this song is written, it has everything in it. It says everything, right to the point and clear as day. You know, I think that you never get heard by thinking someone's got it worse. This is what I was saying before, when, you know, like, someone goes up to someone and says, like, I'm really struggling, and someone goes, oh, someone else in the world's got it worse than you. So, you know, they've been told this so many times, you know, I think that you never get heard. So, you know, they've been told so many times, oh, there's someone worse off than you, that they've not bothered anymore. They're not trying to reach out for help anymore. Because they think that their problems are inconsequential. But they're not. You know, anybody who is struggling, anyone who is having suicidal ideation needs help. It doesn't matter how trivial their problem might seem. If they are struggling that severely that they are contemplating hurting themselves, it doesn't matter how trivial it is, they need help. Someone needs to talk to them. And if they come to you, you damn well better step up to that responsibility. It's not an easy thing to do. I'm not going to lie to you about that. It's very, very hard to hear someone that you really love and really care about saying how they're struggling, saying how they're thinking of hurting themselves. It's difficult to listen to. But if it's difficult for you to listen to, imagine how difficult it is for them to feel that way. And feel that there is no one who cares. They just need someone to listen. They just need to vent. They need to let it out. Because this is one of the biggest problems with these issues. You know, someone with depression or, you know, anxiety and stuff like that, they feel there is no outlet. So they bottle it all up inside and it builds up and it builds up and it just makes it worse. They need to vent. They need to let out their anger or their frustrations. And this is why people self-harm. They're not doing it for attention. It's because doing that to themselves, it gives them a semblance of control over something, and it is a release. They're not going, slice, 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 look at what I've done, pay attention to me, I want attention. That's not what it is. And anybody who has actually done it knows, because they try to hide it. There are those people who do it for attention. It's just like, look at what I've done. Oh, I'm so sad. Please look, pay attention to me. There are people that do that. I'm not going to lie. But the vast majority of people who do harm themselves do it in secret. They try to hide it. And they do it because it's something that they have control over. It's because it gives them a sense of release. You know, and anyway, you know, be minimized so many times, you think that's what you've deserved. Again, you know, you're just sad. Get over it. Cheer up. Smile. Don't be sad. There are people worse off than you. You're minimizing that person's struggle. You're basically saying that their problems are inconsequential. It doesn't matter. They're just sad. That's not how it works. You know, and I've lost where I am now. You know, then you believe that it's deserved, you know, because again, you're basically forced into thinking there are people worse off than me. My things are inconsequential. People make such a small deal about what you're going through. They make out that what you're going through is no big deal, that you think, you know, it's fine. You know, I no one cares. It's fine. It's fine. It's not important to people. So, you know, I think you've been silent since youth. Because every time you speak your truth, you're stigmatized, re-traumatized by all the things you didn't choose. So silence since youth. So you've been holding on to this for a very long time. Because every time you speak up, every time you say, you know, I'm struggling, I'm having problems, you know, I'm not in a good way. You know, people have stigmatized. You know, there is such a stigma. Yeah, can't think of the word. But mental health issues have been stigmatized. You know, you're made out to be a weirdo. You're made out to be broken, you know, and it's made out to be a bad thing. You know, you didn't choose to have these problems. It even says there, you know, you're stigmatized and re-traumatized by the things you didn't choose. You didn't choose to have depression. You didn't choose to have anxiety. You didn't choose to have schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder. You didn't choose these things. You didn't want these things. You know, I don't think there's anybody on the planet who actually wants to have these problems. I mean, there are those people that actually say they've got these problems just to get attention. But you know, they don't actually have those problems. You know, they didn't choose to have mental health issues. And yet they're making you feel bad for having them. You know, it's not like you went out and said, you know what, today I'm going to get myself a personality disorder. You know, and you're basically being punished and tortured for something that you have no control over. And it's cruel. I don't mind your darker side. You can lose control. I'd rather hear your hell than see your funeral. I almost cried at that line. Because, you know, as I said about my friend Steve at the beginning, you know, I would rather sit and listen to whatever that person is struggling through. I don't care what it is. You know, it might be the harshest thing you've ever heard. You know, they might be talking about how they hurt themselves, how they're planning to hurt themselves, how they're planning, you know, they might be planning to take their own life. I would rather sit and listen to them talk about this and try and talk them out of it than not do anything and have to go to a funeral. Like I said, I've lost several friends through things like depression and anxiety, and they have taken their own lives because they could see no way out, and they felt that they had no one to talk to. And again, like I said, this is something I have to live with. But you know, I've had to go to funerals of friends who have taken their lives because they had no outlet. You know, they needed someone to talk to. They felt so desperate that the only way to escape from the demons in their mind was to silence them completely. And that is the worst thing. Because I mentioned my friend Steve. And, I still, I like I said, I can still to this day feel like I could have done something. A few years ago, I lost my friend Lauren. She was an absolute sweetheart. She was one of the few people who actually tried to help me when I was homeless. And, I found out that she'd taken her own life a couple of days after it happened. And I found out through another friend. And I was absolutely destroyed because I'd only spoken to her a few days earlier. I'd actually invited her out for coffee, because I knew that she was in a bad way, and I sat and talked to her for a little while, and said, do you want to meet up? Do you want to go for a coffee, this, that, and the other? And, we had plans to meet up. But in between the time of me talking to her and when we were actually going to meet up, it all got on top of her. And she ended up taking her own life. And I was absolutely destroyed because she was such a lovely person. She was such a wonderful human being. And the reason for it was because of an abusive ex who was trying to take her children from her, making all these false claims that she was a bad parent, that she was abusive, that she was a drunk, that she was a drug addict, none of which were true. He was just a vindictive little shit who actually... he actually posted his own fecal matter through her door. He spread it across the front door. His own fecal matter. And this guy was, in his 30s, I think. He made it his life's work to destroy this lovely woman. And it got too much for her. She felt like there was no way out. And, but I would... I wish there was some way that I could have known just how bad she was struggling, so I could have done something more. I mean, I'm not gonna punish myself over this one because like I said, I did have plans to meet up with her and talk to her, have a coffee with her, and find out how she was doing and stuff. And I did talk to her for several hours. It's just in the interim something happened. So, I'm not going to beat myself up over that one, but there is still that nagging thought, is there something I could have done? But when it comes to my friend Steve, that's a whole different thing because it was the same goddamn day. And, yeah. But yeah, I would rather see your dark side. I would rather see you scream and shout and yell. I would rather you sat there and screamed at me, vented at me, than me have to sit through another funeral. Because I don't want to see you have to lose this fight. I've said it to many, many people. Like I said, even people I don't even know that well. If you need someone to talk to me. I will listen. And even anybody who's watching this video, if you're struggling, message me. I will listen. I don't care who you are. If you're struggling, talk to me. I will listen. Because I would rather help someone than know that I did nothing. Anyway, it goes back into that chorus. You can talk to me. I can tell that you're not okay. You can spill your guts, I won't leave. You are not a burden to me. You can talk to me, even down in your darkest place. You can let your skeleton scream. You are not a burden to me. Again, you're not a burden. I don't care how hard, how heavy, the subject is, talk to me. You're not a burden to me. I will listen. I'm not going to sit here and say, look, I can't deal with this shit right now. I don't care. I might be in a dark place of my own. Even if I am, I would still rather talk to you and help you through whatever shit you're going through than know that I did nothing. As long as I know that I've tried, that I've done something, even if it doesn't end in a favourable manner, I will be able to live with myself knowing that I tried. And that does in a way kind of sound selfish, But What would you rather do? Know that you tried and weren't successful, or know that you didn't even bother to try and something bad happened? Believe me, the second one is the worst one. It sounds selfish, but it really isn't. Because you've done everything you possibly can. You've done everything humanly possible to try and help someone. At least you tried. At least that person knew that they had someone that they could talk to. Even if you weren't necessarily successful, you at least tried. And that is important. The monsters that you're holding back, there's no need to dress them up. Your ugly truth gave depth to you. There's so much more to love. So the monsters that you're holding back, so holding back your demons, all these things that you're trying to keep to yourself, all these feelings, these emotions that are eating up inside, there's no need to dress them up. Don't try and sugarcoat it. Just tell me. Don't just give me the brutal truth. Talk to me. I don't care how bad they are. Just tell me. You don't have to dance around it. Your ugly truth gave depth to you. I kind of like this in a way, because it's like all these things that have affected your life, all the bad events that have happened in your life, all the bad things, they make you who you are. And I love that person. I love you as a person. You're my friend. I care about you. And you are who you are. You are this person that I love and admire because of everything. And I want to help you get rid of all of these demons, but don't hate yourself for who you are, because who you are is the person I know, and I like that person. There's so much more to love, because you've opened up, these people, they open up to you. They bare their soul to you. So you know so much more about that person than you do about any normal person. Then it goes back into that chorus. You can talk to me. I can tell that you're not okay. You can spill your guts, I won't leave. You are not a burden to me. You can talk to me. Even down in your darkest place. Don't ever be ashamed of your needs. You are not a burden to me. So there's a variation in the chorus there. Because normally it says, even down in your darkest place, you can let your skeleton scream. It says there, even in your darkest place, don't ever be ashamed of your needs. Don't ever be ashamed to ask for help. Asking for help is not a weakness. In fact, it's the very opposite. Asking for help is a strength. It is a positive thing. Because you are admitting to yourself, I have a problem. I have a need of help. And, there's always that phrase, admitting you have a problem is the first step. And it's true. Whether it be something like addiction, taking the first step, admitting it to yourself is the biggest step. There are people that struggle with depression and anxiety, but they don't want to admit it to themselves. They don't want to admit that they have this character flaw. They don't want to admit that they are struggling. Don't be ashamed of it. Everybody needs help at some point in their life. And the more you hold on to it, the more you try and hide it, the more you try and bury it, the worse it's going to get. You need to open up about these things. You need to speak to someone about these things. Because just holding on to it is going to make it worse. There's no shame in asking for help. You're not a burden to me. You're not a burden to me. You are not a burden. Burden. The monsters that you're holding back, there's no need to dress them up. Your ugly truth gave depth to you. Now there's so much more to love. And that's all there is for the lyrics. I love what this song is saying, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. And like I said, this hits very close to home, because this talks about something that I myself have experienced. And, it's something that friends of mine have experienced. I've experienced this from both sides. I've been the one sitting there asking for help, and people have come to me asking for help. And I will never turn someone away if they are struggling. If they need someone to talk to, even if I don't know who they are, they can talk to me. You know, I worked in a Blockbuster video store. I worked there for 11 years. And the amount of times people came in, you know, there was one time this young woman came in and she was crying her eyes out. I didn't know who she was. Yeah, or, I mean, you know, she'd come in once or twice to rent a film or so. No idea who she was. All I knew was her name. That was it. And that was just because of her membership card. She came in crying her eyes out. And I asked her if she was okay. And she went, "It's okay, don't worry about it." I said, No. Are you okay? And we ended up talking for about 45 minutes. Whilst I was still serving other people as well. I had no idea who this woman was. You know, I didn't know her personally. You know, I'd only met her through working in the shop. But she came in. She was clearly in distress. Didn't know anything about her. Didn't know anything about her life. Ended up talking to her for 45 minutes because I knew she needed help. And I've done that numerous times with numerous different people, for people I haven't even met. You know, I've been walking down the high street and seen someone crying and asked if they were okay, if they needed someone to talk to, if they wanted to go and get a coffee and just talk it out. You know, I don't know who these people are. I've never met them before. But they were in need. They needed help. And, you know, I'm not saying that you have to go that far. But if someone comes to you saying, "I'm feeling bad, I'm in a dark place, I need someone to talk to," for the love of God, I implore you, please step up, talk to them, because they need that help. You know, and like I said before, it's not an easy thing to listen to. I'm not going to lie about that. It's very difficult to hear someone talking to you about how much they're struggling, how much they don't want to go on anymore. You know, it's really difficult to listen to. But it is vital that you listen. Because you could be the difference between them going home or them going to a morgue. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility at the sound of it. But just taking half an hour, 10 minutes even, to listen to someone, if they are struggling, makes all the difference in the world. You know, there are so many times when I was in my very, very darkest place, all I wanted was someone to sit in the room with me. It didn't even need to talk. I just wanted some companionship. You know, even if I was sat in the room with someone else in total silence, that's all I needed. And I didn't have that option. And there were some very, very dark moments where my thoughts did get away from me. And, you know, it actually came to a point where I was living in a homeless hostel at the time. The staff actually came into my room and removed anything potentially sharp from my room. And this was all because I had no one to talk to. You know, I didn't have a phone at the time. You know, I was homeless. I didn't have a job. You know, I lost my job because I was homeless and this, that and the other. So, you know, I was in a really dark place. I had no one to turn to. And it's actually amazing that I'm actually still here. Because it was the worst time of my life. But, you know, if someone comes to you and says, "I'm struggling," do not, for the love of God, do not just dismiss them. Do not minimise how they are feeling. There might be people struggling worse than them, that's true. But in that moment, that person is asking for help. And like I said before, if you just dismiss them, brush them off, tell them to go on their way, and then the worst outcome happens, that is something that's going to play on your mind for the rest of your life. You know, you might sit there and think, "Oh, well, they're selfish. They did this to themselves, yada, yada, yada." But that'll be that hubris and a bravado, you know, that's you just trying to to justify yourself. That's you just trying to relinquish any blame on yourself. But really, in the back of your mind, you know that you could have sat with them 5, 10, 15 minutes, had a chat to them. That chat might have made the biggest difference. It might have made all of the difference to that person. Because at that time, that person was really desperate. They felt that no one cared. They came to you and you basically said, no one cares. So you reinforced the negative thought that was in their mind already. You basically told them that what they were thinking was true. And that is not acceptable. I could go on forever about this topic because, like I said, it's something that's very close to home. It's something I've encountered. It's something I've been through. Like I said, I will sit up for hours talking to people just to try and make them feel better. If someone is struggling, I will talk to them, even if I don't know them. Because I don't want to see, someone go through the shit that I've been through, because I know what it feels like. And whilst I know I can't stop them feeling the way I do, if I can, for any amount of time, just make them feel some semblance of joy, if I can relieve those feelings even slightly, I will do that, because I know what it feels like to feel that hopeless. I know how painful it feels to think that no one gives a fuck. And it's not a feeling I ever want to feel again. I mean, it's not something I have any control over. But if there is any way that I can give momentary relief to someone else who is feeling that way, I will do everything in my power to do it. If anybody is struggling, talk to me. I don't care who you are. I don't know what your problem is. I don't care what your problems are. Just talk to me about them. For all I know, you might be feeling bad that you broke your favourite mug and it might be upsetting you. I don't care. Talk to me about it. I don't care how minimal it seems. I don't care how inconsequential it might seem to you. I don't care how inconsequential someone else might have made it seem. If it matters to you and it's affecting you, talk to me. Don't just sit there and hold it in. Don't just sit on it. Don't bottle it up. Let it out. Talk to me. If you need to shout, if you need to scream, if you need to yell, if you need to vent, I don't care. Talk to me. You can shout, you can scream, you can vent. I will take it. I will listen. I will not judge. People need to be more like that. And with the shit state of things at the moment, the amount of bad bullshit that is floating around in the world, we need more empathy. We need more people who will sit and listen to people who are struggling. Because you don't want that on your conscience, knowing that you could have done something and you didn't, and you just brushed it off. You don't want that on your conscience. Believe me, you don't. It's a very difficult thing to live with, and I know. Anyway, that is a good and powerful song. I like what it's talking about. It's direct, straight to the point. There's no messing around. There's no dancing around the topic. They go straight in, straight for the jugular, and just like, if you're struggling, talk to me. You're not a burden. I will listen. Great, straight to the point. Performance was really, really good. Like I said, there's a possibility that some of their music might be heavier than this track. Because this seems more like a power ballad sort of thing. But yeah. Impressive. I'd be interested to check out some of their other stuff, maybe something on the heavier side, if there is a heavier side. I don't know. Or most of their music might be like this. I really don't know. So, I'm curious to investigate them further. So, if anybody can throw up any other suggestions for something of them, let me know. But, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that, because like I say, I could rant about this topic for hours. but I'm not gonna. So, I'll leave it at that. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like or a subscribe if you haven't already. It would really, really mean the world to me. I've been doing this for about 7 years now, and not even 3% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, and that's a little bit sort of disheartening, because I've been doing it for a long time and I put a lot of time and effort into doing these videos, and I like to think I do something different. I talk about what the songs are about, because there's this common misconception within heavy metal that people think it's all about murder, sacrifice, gore, blood, guts and evil, and that's very much not the truth, as was demonstrated in today's video. They're talking about a real world topic, talking about depression and mental health. And we've covered subjects like homeless veterans, domestic violence and things like that. We've covered lots of real world topics with very important meanings, and people just dismiss this because they don't take the time to find out what the songs are about. And this is something that I want to dismiss. I want to find out what a song is about. I want to find out the meaning, the stories, the themes, the morals behind a piece of music. It's something that I don't think gets investigated enough. It doesn't get spoken about enough. So that's why I do what I do. And, I don't think there's any other channel, and if there is, there's not very many, that actually does this. So, I like to think I do something different. I actually react to the song rather than just going, yeah, I like it, no, I don't, and leaving it at that. I want to react to the song. Have a sense of what the song is about. And that's why I do what I do. So, if you did enjoy this, please like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes a fraction of a second, but it does make the biggest difference to me and the channel. But anyway, with that being said, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
You can talk to me. I can tell that you're not okay. You can spill your